Greetings guys, what's going on? Unoptimized Fool here with another burst of information for you guys. Today is the 16th of October, and we're going to cover everything that's come out at the end of the day on the 15th as well as today on the 16th, right? So right now our first article talks about some data mining for Midnight Alpha. This is around patch 63854. Again, we're going to go not over everything. Again, data mining is everything that's changed in the new updates. Again, we're currently in alpha of Midnight, but we're just going to go over kind of the important bits, right? So again, um, a new build is on the way, and they talk about WowDB housing. Now that's going to be a website that you can see all the housing icons and the 3D models of everything inside the build. So obviously it's been updated, and you can see, again, it's a really good asset for before we even get into the game what we can expect to get from housing. The house chest now includes a catalog feature with 3D previews of all decor items. 102 new decor items have been added and are now available for browsing on the WowDB housing site. New trading post mounts, we have some snap vines and comfy flying carpets. The damage meter has been updated with additional customization options. Again, this is going to be a built-in one. Remember, all combat-related add-ons are ceasing to exist in Midnight. The first iterations of this has been hit back with a lot of feedback, and honestly a lot of negative feedback. And I do agree, if you look at the current damage meters, again, it's very, very much early in the process, but to give feedback, it doesn't look like wow. It doesn't look that impressive. So I think we're still, we're just seeing the functionality of it. We're seeing the programmer art being uploaded. So hopefully we get to see more in the next couple of builds here. New class sets available for testing. We have Death Knight, Evoker, Monk, Paladin, and Priest. So if you're one of those classes, you can now test that on the new build. I don't think that's going to be in this new build. I think it's going to be the build coming up, but this is data mined, right? Tank impact taunts now last 6 seconds and increased threat by 800% was 400%, so that's a big increase there. The cooldown manager now highlights spell and pandemic range with a red box. Players can now add sound alerts for pandemic range via advanced cooldown settings, which again, this is getting more advanced, which is awesome. Again, this is kind of what we're seeing add-ons do right now, so it's good that they're iterating on the cooldown manager a lot, which is great. Add-on communication and cooldown access have been loosened outside combat or active Mythic Plus PvP matches. Again, I don't think they should go full scale on the anti-add-ons. I think eventually they should, but as of right now, I think kind of easing into it. Again, you can say they're still not easing into it. And then there are new add-on IPIs that improve accuracy of health and power values when shown on unit frames. So with this data mining, we have a bunch of new icons. Again, guys, we're going to be talking about stuff that's in Midnight, so I guess it's technically a little bit of a spoiler alert. We have some new loading screens here. So we have one, I don't remember where this is. I believe this is the Void Storm. This is the Horde version of the housing loading screen that we have. We have, oh, actually, this might be the Void Storm. It actually could have been both the Void Storm. They don't have any names to them. And then this one right here, this cutscene, not cutscene, this, what are they calling it here? Loading screen is weird because one, it doesn't really match the styles of all the other loading screens, and this is a big overview of the Eastern Kingdoms, right? We have the Sunwell on the top here. You can follow my mouse here. You have Elwyn Forest, not Elwyn Forest. I'm sorry. That Elwyn Forest is not here, right? You have Undercity right here. You have the Highlands right here, and you have as well as I forget. I don't know. The Highlands are over here. Excuse me. This is actually Gelneus right here. Excuse me. But this is an overview, so it's weird to see with this map. It is technically the loading screen for Zul'Aman, which is weird because Zul'Aman's all the way over here, not even in the front here. So this is weird. This is the top of the Eastern Kingdoms, right? So it makes you wonder, what is going on? What is this? Is this like are they trying to throw an Easter egg at us, or is this just a placeholder? But I mean, this looks great, by the way, but it just doesn't match the style, right? Now we have a new map, right? Zul'Aman got its map in this official build. This is the whole zone of Zul'Aman. Now you're probably wondering, well, what's this over here, this grayed out area over here? This is an inaccessible area that's part of Zul'Aman that seems to be either cut from the game or going to be used for another patch. Now it's a pretty big zone, or maybe it has its own separate map. We don't know yet. But right now we think it might be a major patch, like a .1 or .2 patch, or it could be a 0.5 patch or 0.7 patch, but it would be a pretty big zone. So we'll keep you updated on that. But the new map, obviously, in-game map is now in, and again, the zone looks good. I love, just from seeing the top-down view of it, it looks pretty expansive. Obviously, they've made these zones a lot larger ever since we had dynamic flying added in. Now we have some new decor items here. You can see a bunch of different ones here. You can view through them. Again, this is just 6 of them. Obviously, I think the cutest one is probably the Murloc plushie. I can't really disagree with that one. But again, it just seems like they're getting a lot of customization from every expansion and not just one, so that's pretty cool. And we have a list of some new items here, some companion pets, things listed as other, and of course we have the mounts here. We talked about the flying carpets coming to the trading post eventually, and as well as the snap vine also coming to the trading post as well, and some cooking recipes as well. And we have some achievement changes. Again, going over data mine information, that could be a 2-hour video, so we're not going to do that. But again, we have some changes to overall general achievements here. And then here's the list right here of all of the different housing decor things added in. Now we did have some house decor moved in, but we saw ones that were depreciated and also replaced with newer models. Like for example, we saw a bunch of items being added in saying "do not use." Those were just placeholders for they were probably just making sure that the system could hold that many much data obviously in the array, and they're probably going to be replacing, and it seems like they are. So as you can see, most of these are coming from do not use or being replaced by updated models or something like that. Like you can see, do not use tester asset. So these are all the removed ones. We also saw some string changes. If that's important to you, you can definitely check it out here. Again, it shows every change to that, which is pretty cool. Then we have some mischange here, some character title changes, currency type for Season 1, and then we also saw some factions, right? Remember, guys, the new currencies that are coming into Midnight is going to be a lot more simplified, right? It's going to be a little bit more streamlined, right? No more Valor Stones. And each piece of armor, depending on its track, it will only have one currency to upgrade it. No more of the 2 currencies. Technically, it's 3 at some point, right? You need, at the higher end, you need Valor Stones, you would need Gilded as well as Ruined, or whatever it is, right? Again, there's so much to keep up on. And then we have some faction changes, some holiday changes, of course, too. Item name descriptions, LFG dungeons, map areas, all that stuff, map difficulties, maps. And there's actually 2 new warband maps coming out, by the way. They currently have the default picture of the Koresh one, so we don't know what they look like yet, but there will be 2 new ones. One's based off of the Alliance home area, and one is based off the Horde, so we can assume it would look like that area, right? That's the assumption that you can probably do. We have some scenarios. Obviously, these are just delves, not the scenarios we saw in MOP, right? But yeah, that's all for the data mine. Obviously, we have week 3 of Midnight Alpha test development notes. So this is the official blue post that Blizzard put out. So we saw some changes. So with each phase, we encourage players to make a new template character and avoid using their previous characters as they could potentially be in a broken state. After making a new template character, make sure to talk to this word, and he will prepare you for any available content. So right now, level 83 character templates, and you can get to level 88 now to test all that stuff. And of course, the zones opened up are Harandar and Eversong Woods, right? And then story and quest, we have the level up campaign and local stories. Now, for housing, what's new in the Alpha Week 3, due to performance concerns, we've had to disallow decorations with lights from being used outside. We're going to spend some time trying to optimize exterior light decorations and hope to enable them post-launch. So on launch, we will not have lights outside. Not the biggest L, but obviously you want to not have something that's going to cause immediate, huge performance hits. So that's fine. It's not the, make it or break it here. Your house chest now has a catalog feature, which you can see all possible decor in the game and see this 3D model. Again, we talked about that before. Some of this will be kind of, redundant from what we just covered in the data mine section. Room replacement costs have had a first pass and are now enforced. If you're currently above the limit, it won't automatically downsize you, but you won't be able to place more until you're under the limit. So that's good. At least it won't delete it on you, which is awesome. Lowered the placement costs on some plants, trees, shrubs, etc. to allow for more greenery. That's always good. And there's also a test vendor near the dye stations who will sell all the dye, though dyes are currently not working at the moment, It seems like the programmers aren't happy with that one. Fixed issues, players can no longer steal each other's houses, whole bunch of rogues out there. So I guess you were able to steal people's, I'm assuming, plots, or maybe their actual whole house, but obviously that's not a gameplay feature, that's a bug. Known issues currently, dials are currently not working. If the front door to your house appears to be uninteractable, keep binding the interact key and use it to enter your home. This will be fixed in a future build. There's a persistent Lua error when you're editing your home. If you'd like to hide those Lua errors, type /console script errors 0 in the chat window and press enter to turn off Lua error displays. So again, obviously they'll probably get that one fixed. Then we saw some dungeons. The Blinding Veil, enemy health increased slightly in normal and heroic dungeons. They have a developer notes here saying normal and heroic dungeons encounters durations were very short, so if we increase the health of enemies slightly to compensate, the pace of the dungeon encounters on these difficulties should now feel more appropriate for their respective difficulty. And we have 2 new dells added in, the Grunge Pit and the Gulf of Memory. And of course, too, they added in a bunch of class sets. We saw Frost Death Knight, Unholy Death Knight, Augmentation Evoker, Preservation Evoker, Mistweaver Monk, Windwalker Monk, Holy Paladin, Retribution Paladin, and Shadow Priest. So if any of those classes that you particularly like, definitely pause the video right here, and you can look at the 2 and 4 set bonuses. Now, we had a bunch of different things here. The following taunt and pet taunts have been updated to have a minimum 6-second duration, increased threat generation by 800%. Again, we covered this earlier. It was 400%. All tank taunt spell tooltips updated to reflect these threat generations increased for the duration of the taunt. So we have Challenging Shout, Dark Command, Dark Whisper, Death Grip, Disrupting Shout, Final Stand, Force of Nature, Growl, Growl Pet, Hand of Reckoning, Provoke, Seethe, Suffering, Taunt, and Torment. All of those have seen an increase. Now right here we're seeing a bunch of different changes to all of the classes here. So again, we have Unholy, Death Knight changes, Demon Hunter Vengeance changes, we have Hero Talents added in, as well as Guardian and Restoration changes for Druid, Evoker Preservation changes, Mistweaver Monk changes, Holy and Retribution changes for Paladin. We have Hero Talents for Priest, Sub changes for Rogue. We have, Apex Talents they're talking about, right? We're also seeing Shaman, Hero Talents, as well as Tomatic as well, too, with Class and Elemental stuff, too, and Restoration. We have Warlock stuff, Affliction and Destruction, and then, of course, we have Warrior here at the end. Now, again, I'm not going to go over any of those independently, because, again, that's a lot of content, but if you want to pause it at your class, definitely check it out. I'm a Warrior, so I'm going to read this later. I'm not going to bore you with going through all the Warrior stuff, but it's definitely nice to keep track of how your class is doing, and hopefully, you know, Arms Warrior does a little bit better in Season 1 of Midnight, because right now it is not so good to be an Arms Warrior, but that's just me. We saw some player versus player stuff with Holy Paladin, all healing reduced by 20% in PvP combat. Again, this is for Midnight Alpha, not retail currently, guys, mind you. Shaman Restoration, all healing reduced by 20% in PvP combat. Now, we did see some changes to the cooldown manager, right? So some damage overtime spells can carry over some of their remaining duration when they are refreshed. When their remaining duration is in a state of that all of it will be carried over when refreshed, that is called being in pandemic range. When an essential or utility cooldown effect in the cooldown manager enters pandemic range, a red box appears around it. Players can manually add a sound notification when an essential or utility cooldown element in the cooldown manager enters pandemic range. This setting can be accessed via advanced cooldown settings, right-clicking on the spell and creating a new alert, selecting pandemic under the when category. Cooldown manager setups for different specs are still in progress, so essential elements for all spells with pandemic may not be available. They also have some add-on security changes too. They loosen the restrictions on add-on communication and chat to allow add-ons to communicate when not in an encounter or an active M+ PvP match. They loosen the restrictions on add-on access to ability cooldown information to allow access when not in combat or an active M+ PvP match. Now, this doesn't mention anything about raiding, by the way, so this is weird. Maybe nothing to look into, but maybe it's something to look into, because they mentioned M+ and PvP, but not raiding, but maybe it's just me reading into things. They adjusted add-on access to buff and debuff information to match the restrictions on ability cooldowns. They added several new APIs to allow unit frame add-ons to show health and power values more accurately. They improved the ability for add-ons to formulate secret values into strings, more improvements to come. A sort by option has been added to the filter drop-down in the house chest, and currencies can now be used directly as reagents when fulfilling crafting orders. So those were kind of just randomly added in at the end there. Now, the last article to talk about today, guys, is the Legion artifact sorry, Legion Remix artifact trait adjustments are now live. So we talked about this yesterday. With a recently deployed hotfix, we've increased artifact trait values in Legion Remix, especially for damage and healer specs. They were initially going to wait until Tuesday for this, but it looks like they pushed that live. Again, this was published yesterday, so this should be in as we speak right now. So artifact traits, damage and healer specs now gain plus 20% damage and healing from all artifact traits. Call of the Legion, Infernal Freyer's melee damage reduced, Infernal Flayer's Infernal Leap damage increased, and Infernal Soul Siege damage increased. We have Narnan's Everdisc. Catching the disc now increases damage of subsequent throws by 50% per catch, was 30%. Light's Vengeance increased damage by 50%, and then they also increased healing by 20%. Vindicar's Judgment increased damage by 50% and increased healing by 20%. And then we have High Mountain Fortitude. The percentage of damage converted to Fortitude has been increased to 10% at rank 1, was 5%, and 15% at rank 3, was 11%, with each additional rank at or above rank 4 providing additional 3%. So again, we were going to wait till Tuesday to get this, because that's when phase, I guess, 2, maybe phase 1 of Remix is going to do. I forget which one there. I think it's phase 1 is going to be released, but obviously that's now in the live game. This was uploaded yesterday, so you should be seeing that power increase for you DPS and healers, so hopefully it's still a bit more lucrative to have you guys in high mythic keys. We shall see, obviously, but people love their tanks, that's for sure. But yeah, guys, that's going to be all the information I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening on in. I try to do this every day. There's going to be some days I take off, or the news is pretty slow, so thank you for watching. Thanks for watching the burst of information, and I'll see you guys next time.